She was clearly the mistress of the house, but every time before entering the nanny's room, she had to find an excuse to detach the nanny. Only when she was sure that the nanny had left did she dare to take control of the wheelchair and enter the room, but she would not do anything extra each time, just checking if there was any hair on the nanny's comb. And the reason why she did so was that not long ago, her husband adopted a child back from the orphanage. But strangely enough, the newly adopted child called her husband's father affectionately. At first she didn't care much, simply thought that this child does not recognize life. But just back to the room, she took off the new clothes ready to give the adopted son to wear, but unexpectedly the boy hugged the nanny shouting mother. She immediately realized something was wrong and questioned the nanny. The nanny claimed that she had picked up the boy from the orphanage and because of his young age, he mistook her for his mother, although she questioned the nanny's words. After all, there was little evidence now. At this time the man heard the commotion and rushed over. The nanny rushed to explain to him what had just happened. However, the man was unconcerned and once again explained to his wife that the child was mistaken because of her young age. However, the woman still sensed something was wrong from the nanny's panicked appearance just now, so she asked her husband to send the boy back and re-adopt a bright child, but was met with her husband's flat rejection. Seeing that her husband reacted so violently, the woman had to suspect the boy's identity, but she did not insist on sending the boy away, but agreed to leave her behind, the purpose of which was to find out the boy's identity. So this day when her husband went on a business trip, she used watering the flowers as an excuse to support the nanny, quietly came to the nanny's room, took a few hairs from her comb, and then wrapped her husband's and the boy's toothbrushes along with the nanny's hair. Then she contacted her best friend by text message and asked her to do a paternity test. Soon after receiving the text message, her best friend came to her home, and the woman took the opportunity to hand over the sample to her best friend. But because the identification takes time, now she can only wait. However, in the afternoon, the nanny brought medicine for leg problems as usual, but after so many years of taking the medicine, the leg problem not only didn't get better, but got worse, so she carefully took this opportunity to test the nanny. But the nanny claimed that it was specially instructed by the gentleman that the medicine must be taken, in order not to expose herself. The woman could only eat the medicine in front of the nanny. The nanny smiled with satisfaction at this scene, but just as she left, the woman spat out the medicine. At this point she had long ceased to trust anyone, and the other side of the nanny turned to her husband's room. Originally thought she had long eaten the medicine to fall asleep, but did not know that the woman due to the reason that did not take the medicine, tonight did not fall asleep, just in the two people to perform the metamorphosis of the matter. The woman on a wheelchair to come to the outside of the room, just to hear the two people's conversation. This is to know that 5 years ago they suffered a car accident is actually the husband carefully planned, and every day to take the medicine is not at all the treatment of the legs of the drug, but to make their own muscle weakness of the drug. After learning the truth, the woman was overwhelmed with fear. She never thought that her husband, who loved her so much on the surface, would be trying to frame her behind her back. So the next day when the nanny let her take the medicine, in order to no longer eat these poisonous drugs, she deliberately lost her temper and knocked over the medicine. Her husband rushed in, pretending to be concerned, and asked what was wrong. She ignored him and furiously drove them out. This outburst made her husband suspicious, but the maid reassured him, explaining that emotional instability was a side effect of the medication. She suggested that if the woman continued taking it for a few more months, she might even go completely insane. Relieved, he instructed the maid to ensure she took the medication daily. Seeing her husband's true colors, the woman vowed to make him pay, and then prepared to take the phone in the evening to contact her girlfriends to ask for help. But when she took the phone, she found that the phone had been taken away at some time. In desperation, she tried to sneak out for help the next day while no one was around, but she was grabbed by her nanny just as she moved. The woman questioned the maid's authority over her freedom, but the maid insisted she was just following orders. A few days later, while giving her a massage, the maid noticed that the woman's leg muscles seemed to be improving. Sensing something was amiss, she reported it to the husband, who responded with a sinister smile. He approached the woman with a hammer, asking the maid if she had taken her medication. When he learned she had, he pinched her leg to see if she felt anything. She endured the pain to avoid revealing the truth. Just as he was about to use the hammer on her, their adopted son called out, distracting them and saving her life. Shaken by the close call, the woman trembled at the memory. Her husband, eager to seize her assets, proposed registering their adopted son as their biological child. She suspected the boy was actually the son of her husband and the maid, but saw this as an opportunity to escape. She agreed and even offered to contact a friend who could expedite the paperwork. Her husband, convinced, handed her the phone. She immediately called her friend's backup number.